Good afternoon, good evening, and greetings, South Sudan, on ground and abroad. Welcome to a brand new season of Gender Talk 211, starting off with conversations on South Sudan women at 10. That being said, happy 10-year anniversary to all South Sudanese all over the world that are tuning in with us today. My name is Eva Lopa, and I am your host. Very excited to be back for yet another season of hosting gender conversations. To mark the 10 years of South Sudan, Gender Talk 211 will be hosting a series of conversations on what life has been like for South Sudanese women for the past 10 years, highlighting their achievements as well as challenges. Today I am joined by two phenomenal women. One of them is an award-winning journalist. In 2017 as Human Rights Defender by SEPO. In 2020 as the Award of African Women in Media by Pitch Zone for her work on peace and governance in South Sudan. And in 2021 she is an Earth Champion named by IGAD's ICPAC for her coverage of climate change. The second person is Captain, my captain, Amy Lasu of the National Women's Football Team, and soon to be on transfer somewhere around the world. She'll tell us more about it. Please help me welcome Maura Ajak and Amy Lasu. Ladies, welcome to Gender Talk 211.
Thank you.
Right. So how are you doing? It's raining pretty heavy today. I know we've had an experience. Amy is soaking. Probably won't come back here again. Sorry, my bad, but thank you so much for making an effort and actually making it out here today. How have you been? How's your day?
I'm doing good. My day has been okay. I had training in the morning, and after that, I decided to come here.
You're kick-starting also another part of your football journey, which is a transfer. But before we get into that, how is the new stardom? How does the new stardom feel like? Right now in South Sudan, everyone talks about Amy Lasu. We just know who that is. How does it feel to be very famous and popular within athletics?
It feels really good, and I'm really proud that people are recognizing whatever I'm doing here in the country. We all know that football hasn't been something that has been recognized here for a very long time, but now it is, and I'm really happy for that.
Tell me a little bit about your journey. What has your journey been like with football? When did you start?
I started at the age of 7 back in Kenya, and all through I've been through different academies. I started with Livindogo, went to FISA Academy, went to Cheza Africa Eagle, went to Cheza Squats, and then after that I joined my first Premier League team called Gaspo FC, and then after that joined Makolanda's FC, and that's where I got my first call-up for the national team.
Okay, which year was that?
That was in 2019.
2019, and then 2020, amazing things happened that with your help it's become possible that the dream of even being a woman footballer or an athlete with such a huge platform is actually possible for women in South Sudan. Tell me about how that started off and how did we finally come to establishing the Women's Football League?
Well, I can say so many people have invested in women football. Especially the SSFA, they are doing quite a lot to recognize women's football, because we're seeing in different countries with female national teams, so why not South Sudan, So yeah, they decided that we should have a national team for South Sudan, and this year they decided that we should have a league for women. And the league is recognized by FIFA, so that's something to be proud about.
I also understand, I've watched your journey very closely, and I know that you've been an advocate and a voice for this league to actually be established as soon as possible. Why was it very important for you that this happens?
Well, because football is something very special to me, and I believe that there's so much potential in this country. There's so many talented young girls who aspire to be great footballers. So I feel like having this league would provide a platform for them, to showcase their talent, because we have scouts in like everywhere. So the moment they're given that platform, they can be scouted to like clubs in say Europe, different places. So yeah, I think it's a good initiative that they took to have this league.
Fantastic. I'll come back to you. I want to know more from you about opportunities that have opened up after the league now came about, and also challenges that you have faced as a woman in such a male-dominant field. But before that, hello, Maura Ajak. How are you doing today?
Good, feeling good.
You're always very mellow. Your tone is very smooth. How are you feeling?
I feel good and calm. It's been a good day, and it's nice to end it up with the rain.
Just reflecting on the past 10 years of South Sudan, what has media been like for you?
Before raising the flag, people were trying, or let me call media practitioners, were trying really hard. And during raising the flag, they tried their best. And after that, it had turned into nightmare. And with the multiple conflicts also, it had turned into something else. But to my own perspective, I've seen media practitioners or journalists, they tried their best to stand firm and then to achieve what they can do best for the people.
So when you say soft and hard, what do you mean by difficulties?
Difficulties, it differs, sometimes verbal, sometimes physical. Verbal in terms of we can be criticized, whether by the media practitioners themselves or by the community or by the officials. And soft only when there is something good happens. Then you will see people understanding it and they're responding a little bit to it.
So people aren't receptive to, let me say, news that is just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you deal with that?
It's becoming like a routine and part of life. For me, I have to live with the story that I want to write first. And I have to understand the environment. And I have to study also which type of sources I want them to be part in my story. And before all that, I have to consult maybe more than 10 people from different categories or different sectors.
Mm-hmm.
Like how it will look like, what if I want to do this, how do you feel about it, like in general, the 5 W's and H for
Right.
each different person. Yeah.
Right. So I want to get your view on something. For the past few weeks, Gender Talk 211 has been filming and speaking to women in different sectors, different fields, spaces, and just on their reflections of the past 10 years in South Sudan. And I found it very difficult that women are willing to speak or share their experiences. It is not very easy to get them to share their truth. Rather, let me say that. Do you face such when you're doing your reporting, covering stories?
Relating with different genders. Only when there is something pains them or pains you, that's the time that you are having a courage to speak out. But if there is something happening it's happening to an individual, no one cares to speak out and talk about it. And as a journalist, there are a lot of challenges in terms of helping people also to understand the type of the topic or the nature of the topic. For instance, when I've started from WOW, people will tell me like, you want my comment because it's going to be diverted into political statement or into political story, and I will end up in jail. I do try my best to explain, like, no, it's a social topic. We need to open up for people, and we need people to understand about their rights. It depends also on the type of the topic. And here in Juba also, it's also hard. Only when there is an occasion, and then you feel like it's the right time to fix in your topic and ask the person as a follow-up question. How do you feel, or what do you think about this? And then the person will answer. But if it's like one-on-one, the person will never give you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Advanced Youth Radio 99.9 FM, and this is Gender Talk 211. With us today is Maura Ajak, journalist Maura Ajak, and Captain Lasu of the National Women's Football Team, discussing or having conversations on the past 10 years of South Sudan within their specific fields. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, we are also online on Advanced Youth Radio. And you can share with us in your comments. We'll get to it later during the show. So Maura, in saying that, do you think this contributes to people's perceptions of your stories, or how you're going to go out there and paint them or paint an image of what they're saying? Do you think those perceptions contribute to lack of coverage?
It's lack of access, and also lack of awareness about the media role or journalist role, and lack of knowing about an individual rights. There are a lot of, like, it depends on the stories that I do. Basically, human rights, implementation of peace, transition security arrangements. It depends on the area that I go to. And it depends also on how the other person is open-minded, and the person how is flexible to give you out the information, not necessarily confidential information, but it's usually used to be part of the routine that they're living with, but it's just due to fear. That's why the person will think like, I might say something wrong, and yet when you put your recorder off, then you find out your source again will try to talk something making sense that you're supposed to record.
Going back to Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Women's League? What does that mean? And from Women's League, where do the teams go? What happens next?
Okay, the Women's League, it was part of the strategic plan that was launched in last year. I think it was 4th. Yeah, so there was 8 states that participated in this league. We had Juba, we had Yeri, we had Torit, Wow, Kwajok, Will, how many of those?
I think you counted about 6.
Yeah, there's also Bentley and Wow, I think. Yeah, Wow, yeah.
Okay.
So, what happened was, it was played on a home and away basis. So, like, let's say if Juba, our home ground is here, right? So, if we play here with, let's say, Wow, the second round we play with them at their home.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a great platform because players were able to interact, like different states were able to interact with each other. So it was like a way of uniting players all over
Right.
the country. Yeah. yeah, so
And as an outcome of that, you also played your first international game
yes,
against Ethiopia. It was the team formed or established of different players from the States.
yes,
That's how it came about.
yeah.
That's one great outcome. But you individually, you personally, you've had one of the best, let me say, seasons of football that we've ever seen a player have in South Sudan. And that ended up actually gaining you an offer. Tell us a little bit about your offer.
There's this lady, she's also a radio presenter, and she's constantly like sharing stuff about me. So I think that's how they got to know.
I think we're all constantly sharing stuff about
Yeah,
you.
Thank you for
Yes.
that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I got an email from some guy from my team, and he told me they're interested in me, and so they asked me to give them a contact of the agent for the team. So I did, and that's how I started negotiating.
Great. Are we taking the offer? Are you officially saying that we are taking an offer?
Let me say, we're almost there.
Almost there. We're 99%.
Not 99.
90%.
Yeah.
We're 90% there. Okay, I can't wait to hear the official news from you. I was hoping it would be an exclusive for us, but I guess we'll get it next time.
Yeah.
Because this won't be the last transfer that you have,
Hopefully
probably
not.
and hopefully. Yeah. So what does that mean for your participation or your being a part of the national team?
I will always come back when there's national duty. So, like when it's the league, I'll go and play, and then anytime the national team needs me, I'll come back.
Okay, sounds great. So all of these great things that have happened for, let me say, women in football or women in sports in general, you have had the best 2 years. 2020 and 2021 have been the best 2 years for women in athletics in general, with the basketball team also now coming up and playing their first international, actually their first game ever as the South Sudanese national team. So it's been a great 2 years for you. How do you feel about the industry now? Because I know before it was a very frowned upon thing to have a woman participating, like taking sports as a career. It was very frowned upon. Tell me a little bit more about your experience before, and then how you feel about the industry now, and also the reception of our communities of that.
I grew up in Kenya, right? And I grew up in a country where girls would play football. So there wasn't really that, like having cultural norms where like girls shouldn't play football. There wasn't that in Kenya.
In Kenya, right?
Yeah, so I never really faced that. But from what I have been told here, it was something different. Girls are not allowed to play because they considered football men's sport, and they thought girls should just be in the house being trained or whatever. So I think so many girls here have faced a lot of challenges with that because they don't get a chance to express themselves. Some have dreams that have been shattered, because I know for sure there's so many girls who want to
Be a part of sports.
Yeah, but because they're not allowed to, or because of societal views and certain things, they're not able to, Yeah, so the girls are now being empowered and being able to express themselves, and they're more confident,
Also, other than the players, I'm now seeing a big change in the entire association in itself, because you find more women that are refereeing the games. Even the aid, the doctors that have to be a part of the game. You see more women becoming a part of that. So I think the Women's League probably opened very, very big doors. And I'm personally seeing a very great reception of it, because I don't think as a community we knew the heights of where the young ladies could reach. For example, now they're playing the Women's League around the States, they're traveling, and then now they go to Ethiopia. There's a chance of transfer as well. They're now seeing that, okay, there might be great outcomes out of this. So they're starting to be very acceptive of it. I don't want to stretch it and say they've accepted it, but they're starting. We're on a good track. Maura, I know you've been following the football, the women's teams, whether football or basketball. How do you feel about the industry now?
It's a way to start and building up a legacy for the upcoming generation, and to encourage also other young girls to understand how to choose also at the same time. Because in the past, people were limited of, you rather be a doctor, or you have to be an engineer, and you have to be this and that. But with the community, they didn't give a chance to girls to tell them you have to choose, or there are a lot of choices out there, or you can even create a job for yourself, for instance. But now it's a good change happening, and it's good also for the young girls to adapt. Whatever environment it is, you have to be creative and find a way forward. Because tomorrow after tomorrow, who knows who will write the history of South Sudan or the book?
Absolutely. I think they're writing it right now.
Yeah.
I think they're absolutely writing the history right now. And it's so beautiful for me to see, because now even for Amy, when she first came out, we only knew Amy. We only had you there. But now there's competition. We know some other people, So now it's getting heavier, and you actually have to work hard for this, because so many other players have come up and shown amazing potential. And I'm sure as time goes on, what you were saying earlier, that you're adjusting to each other as a national team, or even the teams separately are adjusting to playing with each other. So I'm sure moving forward, as you become a team that knows each other very well, you're going to achieve a lot more greatness. And I just cannot wait to witness it. Yeah, those are pages I cannot wait to show somebody in the future, and I cannot wait to witness it right about now. So Maura, going back to you, and we have many conversations about this off the record, but just the way and lack of coverage. There are also flaws within media, let me say, and this is a huge topic that I've seen come up on social media many times, where if it's a case of, let me say, harassment or rape, or any form of accusation made against someone, as media, we are so quick to expose an image of who the victim is, rather than focusing on who the accused or the perpetrator is actually. I remember a situation that happened in Egypt that angered the South Sudanese very much, and me personally as well, where I personally felt that the survivor, let me say rather, the survivor was pretty much exposed to so many big platforms where nobody stopped to say, are you okay? What can we do to help you? And those are things where I think media is finding it very difficult to differentiate between their job and actually being a human being and catering for someone's life, or just being considerate of what someone has just been through, which is far more important than the story in itself and how it can affect that person moving forward as well. What are your thoughts around that?
We need more practical training on how to interview the survivors and how to impose of I must have a photo of that perpetrator until he or she will be held accountable. And to me as a journalist, it's really annoying to check the international reports and the high records of like mostly name it SGBV or killing of this and that. It's really annoying, but how can we fix this? And we lack of finding way forward to find a solution. But we are really good at fighting within the case itself, and it just goes beyond what you were expecting to happen. And if you're following, for instance, any case of SGBV, for instance, you will never get a positive comment of like, yeah, you should do this, and we advise you to go through this channel or check with the experts, so and so. But you'll find like, hey, you will get arrested because of this story, for instance. So if I'm trying to defend for other people who they don't know about the laws, who they don't know about their rights, how should I then move ahead and give a solution to the community? How shall we move ahead and find solution for everyone and to have a healthy environment? So it's like a complex environment usually is today. But sometimes you try just to, to live with it and just to force the solution to move with you until you find a way for it. With the case that happened in Egypt, you just mentioned, it's just we lack people who usually come on time and say, hey, we have to protect the family of the survivor, for instance. We need ways of approaching the family. For me, I've tried that. It wasn't easy to approach a family or a survivor because you have to go through a lot of phases until you get a go-ahead. And even with the children, it's really difficult. Just dealing like with someone who's 90 plus or 60 plus. Because they need to understand first, and you have also to live in the same mentality level, and to tell the child about your role, why you're there. It's like kind of some steps or stages that we need to take it as something natural. For our people who are using the social media and they're seeing it like something fashionable and exposing the survivor, it's never healthy, because even if the child is 5, 6, 15, you will expose the child on social media, it's for the rest of the life of that child. Yes. And people seeing it as if like, I've done something good. It's not about you had done something good, but you're also part of the case. And I remember there was a child being raped by one of the visitors' family. It was a huge case, but unfortunately, we failed to follow up to see where the perpetrator was. And even everyone was angry at Budele court that time. It was like 2 years back or 3 years back, if I can remember well. The child was there, and at the end the family, they were like, they have to speak out. Yeah, they talked to media, and the child was just 9. And we had to turn the child back towards our lens and the face to face the family. Not to have the child face, because we don't want the child to be known.
Exposed, yes.
Yeah. So we need this awareness of don't expose the survivor, expose the rapist, expose the perpetrator.
Very, very true. Also, we have cases of where so many children are speaking, and then I don't see adults around those children, or who gave you consent to speak to this child, because just as a human in general, I don't want to speak to a child who does not even understand what we are talking about, and saying anything and everything, and there's no one supervising this conversation? It has to be uncomfortable, number one. Number two, it's a violation of the child's rights in the first place. So, how can South Sudan's media adjust to consent of speaking to a child, or being in a space where a child is expressing themselves, and there are rules of how you can approach this child or speak to them, or who needs to be around and so on? How can media adjust to that?
How I wish if we have a lot of media outlets, or a lot of media or radio stations or television around the country with more or persistent awareness. People will try to adapt every day. And the presence of smartphones, it's everywhere. How I wish even the moment you would open the smartphone, it will give you first like kind of a course.
Right.
You shouldn't do this with your smartphone, you shouldn't do that and this, like this. And then the person will be alerted and will know even what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And it's a joint work we're supposed to do. It's not only with the journalists, also with the authority and the community, a collaborative work, and also to accept what is negative, we want to turn it into positive thing. And the moment you tell something positive, just to change a slight attitude there, they will tell you now at that time nafsak fahim. The simple example, just like the COVID-19.
Yes.
You give out the awareness, it's as corona.
Yes.
The people who brought corona. You put on mask, mafi corona. Why are you putting
right.
on mask? Are you a corona person? So it's a matter of, we cope with it, but we're still resisting of like, yes, there is corona. You have to believe it. And it's the same thing with the media. Yes, media exists, but we are not an enemy. We're there just to highlight the fundamental things, and also the other things that people didn't get it well, and we're trying to correct it in a soft way also, not in a bad way. Because there is a huge fear from media. Once you're among the crowd, or even a small meeting, or you're saying hi to some friends, oh yeah, this person is a journalist. Now you're recording me, right? So there is this kind of
yes.
fear, and it's like, I don't know how to name it, but it's just a shock of, I don't like media. And if
you represent that, then you also, yes.
And it's based upon your own skills, how you will convince the person, how you will take time, so the person can just open up and talk to you.
Yes, but then how do you yourself, how do you differentiate between, because you've also, throughout the years, have been an activist in a way as well. So how do you differentiate between Maura the journalist and Maura the activist? Or do the two intertwine? How does that happen?
My emotions always out of my work. And because there is ethics, media laws, not to take side. Even if you find your tribe has been affected, just leave it. Let other colleagues write about it, but not you. And also maintaining the stories. I remember I had a friend being killed in one of the states, I'm not going to mention.
Okay.
And I didn't know I'm going to write a story about that or edit. It was just terrible. At the end, I had to pass it to another colleague. Have a look at it, please. I'm not okay with this story. Because at the end, you will put on emotions. And maybe you're going to interview the official and say, why this person been shot? And it's not going to be healthy also on my side. Enough that the trauma of hearing just the news or seeing it without receiving a call in advance. And also, yeah, there are a lot of things happening. Even with the multiple conflicts that happened in the past, it was really challenging. It was really challenging, and sometimes you can know the truth, but you don't have an evidence. You cannot write it. It's just a matter of making sure I don't involve my emotions. I just write what it is, but I don't publish right away. I have to pass it
To
another
someone
person.
else.
A second eye, it's always important to pass to the script. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's probably not even very easy when you're emotionally involved or you're personally involved to focus on what the topic is in itself rather than the incident that is affecting you in itself. So yes, you definitely become emotional straight away. So that's a good tip for journalists. If you're emotionally involved or you're personally invested in the story, write your story and pass it on to someone else to vet it. Or give it to someone else to write the story.
Yeah.
And stay away from that. It's a very difficult thing to do, because also as human beings we're very opinionated and we want to be heard or even validated. Our feelings need to be validated by others. So it's very difficult, but great tip. Thank you very much. Before we wrap up the show, I have to ask, Amy, I'll start with you first. I have to ask, where do you see South Sudanese women in sports in the next 10 years?
Well, I think there will be so many steps ahead. Like I said before, we achieved quite a lot in 2 years. Imagine in 10 years. I think if we continue with the same consistency, like the same things we're doing, I think we'll be in a greater place. And I think in 10 years' time, South Sudan will be competing in one of the biggest competitions in Africa and in the world.
And how do you wish to be supported moving forward? By the community, by, let me say, even schools or institutions that exist to help to help youth get creative or groom their talents, grow their potential. How do you wish we can support women in athletics in general?
Well, I believe that investing in even the little motivation and encouragement can make us do great things. So, like for instance, in schools, if we have like let's say inter-school competitions where schools play different schools, I think that would give a chance to the young girls to get involved in sports a lot. Yeah, and also if let's say the government, if they also put a hand in trying to help young girls, provide opportunities for them, I think they will be able to grow, and I think more girls will get involved in sport, and not only sports, in so many different things. So if people hold hands and like try to empower the girls more, I think more girls will be more
involved in the game. What's next for Amy? Now you're going on transfer, but what are your goals in, let's say, 10 years? Where do you see yourself?
Well, I still want to play for as long as I can, and I see myself in playing in one of the clubs in Europe. I want to have my own academy here in South Sudan. Basically because what I've seen is that we don't have academies for girls here. Maybe just one or two that I've seen, but I want to give the young girls a chance to grow in football, because once they start small, by the time they are old enough, they'll have already mastered the art of playing also create awareness in different parts of the country. Because if different people see that, oh, now we have girls playing in an academy, I think it will help us get rid of that mentality completely, and that's what I want for South Sudan.
That's fantastic. You know, one of my favorite things in life is when I meet someone and I know how influential they are, how much impact they're creating it, and they're such a humble human being, so much humility that you think they don't even realize, not even you think, they don't even realize how much impact they're having on people in general. And Amy, you are one of those people. Your spirit is absolutely amazing, and I actually think your humility is going to take you further and further in life. You have amazing goals. You're playing one of the most difficult games in life, period. And especially playing it in South Sudan, it's a very, very difficult thing. So you're on a hard path, and you take it with such grace and treat it with so much humility. And I think that's going to be one of the reasons why you're going to become very, very successful. And I can tell you this on behalf of myself and Maura, we can't wait to cover all of it. We can't wait to cover all of these stories. Yes, and your success. Just remember, when you see us in the crowd, give us the first picture. Okay? Look at us first. But congratulations on everything that you are doing. We are so very, very proud of you. And I can't wait to see what else you're going to do, because I know it's going to be a lot. And so, Maura, what's next for Maura? What are you looking at doing next? First of all, you've done many things. You've already achieved many things on your own as Maura the individual, and then contributed to many changes within the media industry or fraternity, just by being very ethical in your work and your craft. It might seem to someone that you've already done it all. You know, she's already there. Maura's getting awards left and right. I'm wondering, when is mine going to come? But okay, Jesus is good. We'll see. So, what is next for Maura? What are we looking at doing next?
It's all just about the legacy. I'm tired of South Sudan to be labeled always as a war-zone country. I grew up in Sudan, Khartoum, and yeah, it was halfway peaceful. And you knew yourself, you know how we were struggling.
Absolutely.
Racism, name it, discrimination, and I don't want this in our country here. I've never dreamed of it. And serving in media, it's serving for everyone, not for a specific tribe, not for an individual, but it's just for everyone. Because I'm not going to live here forever. Tomorrow someone else will come. Let them continue with the chapters that I couldn't fulfill. My dream for the upcoming 10 years, it's just seeing the name of South Sudan everywhere in any application for media opportunities. And most of the chances or the awards that I had, and the recent one, it was just through applying online. And I want every female journalist not to ignore any link that will be forwarded to you. And I had a lot of female friends. They were pushing for me. Maura, you can do this. You try. And, at the end, everyone wanted to die in a happy way. With a smiley face.
Yes.
Not angry, not with bitterness. And we can let go whatever negative happened. But at the end, we need to have a continuous dream, even if the situation is really tough. But tomorrow it's always better, and it has a good fruits. And there are a lot of bitterness, yes. As I've mentioned earlier, it's naturally there. How to overcome, how to move ahead, how to ignore it. Because by the time you will do something positive, it will make people just forget whatever was there. Because female journalists, they are labeled, they were given a lot of names. But for me, I don't care. For me as Maura, I don't care. I'm a South Sudanese and I will do it, and I will move ahead, I will do this. That's how I just keep on telling myself every day. Because thinking about negative things, you'll find yourself maybe before Christ's time, you will think how they were living. And the issue of having other skills, we need also to look at our psychological side, mental health. It's quite important. I go to the States, I've been to the flooding areas. It's traumatizing. It's not nice. Talking to people losing like children, and you're hearing like, oh, the tukul just fell off on my child this morning, and I buried my child, but nowhere to take the body even. Everywhere is wet. It's annoying, but how can I reflect the story? How can I tell other people are suffering in this area? The challenge is will keep on moving and moving and moving, but let us think about how to achieve positive thing that it will last forever. No one can even just come and vanish it away. Yeah.
A long living legacy, let me say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, both of you have said it all. I don't even have the words to wrap it up because you've said it all for me. Ladies, I want to thank you for being here with me today, especially you, Amy, because I know that rain was not... I know that rain was a bit difficult to handle. But thank you very much for being here. If you give me a call, I will come and cover that exclusive.
You better.
She said, you better. Okay. I will be there to cover that exclusive of when that transfer goes through. And when Europe calls, I'll be there as well, because we know that's going to happen for you. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in with us for the comeback, a brand new season of Gender Talk 211. We'll be having these conversations every Thursday on Advanced Youth Radio. So stay with us and tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. My name is Eva Lopa, and this is Gender Talk 211. Have a great evening or night ahead.